We are learning Mishnah's Bava Kamma, Parak Vav, Chapter 6, Mishnah Beis, Mishnah 2. We are in the middle of the Mishnah, so we'll just start reading from the beginning, quickly review the first half of the Mishnah. Hinicha b'chama, if he left the animal or the sheep in the sun, even though he closed the door properly, or he handed it over to a deaf mute or to an insane or to a minor to watch it, the animal went out and damaged, chayev. The owner of the animal is obligated to pay. If he handed it over to a shepherd, which we learned yesterday, the Gemara says means one shepherd handed it over to another shepherd, to his assistant, nichnas raya tachtav, the second shepherd now enters in his place, meaning in the place of the first shepherd, and therefore the second one is the one who is going to be responsible. Nafla lagina v'nehenis, if an animal accidentally fell into a garden patch and it ruined the crop, but it had benefit, Mishalemes mashenehenis, you pay that which was it pays that which was gained. So even though it was accidental that it fell in, you're not responsible for it falling in and damaging what was growing there. But whatever benefit the owner of the animal had from it, either because it broke the fall or because it ate, when it fell onto that patch, it ate what was growing there. You don't pay you don't pay for damages, but you pay for what what was benefited from. Now, Mishnah continues. This is where we pick up for today. Yarda kadarka v'yizika. Now let's say it went into this garden patch, regularly, normally. It was not a story about accidentally falling in. It basically kind of just moseyed on in, which means it wasn't watched properly, and it went into that garden patch and it damaged. So now it's a question of your negligence. You didn't guard your animal properly. That's why it went in and it damaged. So says the Mishnah, Mishalemes mashi zika. Now you have to pay what it damaged. It's not just a question of paying what you benefited, but now you got to pay what you damaged. Now, so what do you think paying what you damaged means? It ate what grew, and you should be paying the value of what grew, but that's not what it means. How does it pay for what it damaged? And how do we measure the damage? And the answer is, we evaluate the area of a sa'ah in that field. Kamma ha'yisayafa, how much was it worth? The kamma hiyafa, and how much is it worth? So what that means is like this. What that means is that, I'm going to read to you here from the notes. We do not assess the value of the eaten produce itself. That is, how much money such produce costs in the market. That's not what it means here. Instead, we assess how much the land went down in value because some of its produce was eaten. When you sell a piece of land with produce growing, right, it has extra value. Now that it's missing some of the produce because the animal ate from it, the land goes down in value. Now to go ahead and assess it according to how much the land went down in value because now it's missing, some of what was growing in there. This is much less than the value of the produce on its own, right? Selling produce is going to gain you value of the produce. How much the land goes down because some produce was eaten is not going to be the same amount. A person who's buying a piece of land and he values it based on the land, based on what is growing there, because some of it is going to be missing, isn't necessarily going to make such a big difference. Furthermore, although the animal ate the produce of only a small area of land, we do not reckon how much the value of that small area was reduced. It is derived from the Torah that we look at a beis sa'ah in which that small area was located. A beis sa'ah is not a small area of land. They bring down here in the notes, a beis sa'ah is an area of 2,500 square amas. When in the shape of a square, it measures 50 by 50 amas. That's not a small piece it's not a little garden patch. But what we're saying now is that we actually look at the patch of land that would be in a beis sa'ah of that area. How much does the beis sa'ah go down in value? It is derived from the Torah that we look at a beis sa'ah in which that small area was located, and we reckon how much the entire beis sa'ah went down in value. This makes the payment even lower because someone buying an entire base does not care all that much if the produce of a small area within it was eaten. So at the end of the day, when you're considered responsible and have to pay for the damages, the Torah was quite lenient here on how to pay for damages. You're not paying for the actual crop that was lost, but rather crops that were lost, but rather how much a base of land that now you ate a patch of a garden from, how much does the base go down in value if somebody wanted to buy it? That's not going to be that much. But that's what we derive from the Torah, how much that payment is. So that's what it means when Mishna says, Ketzad Mishalemes Mashi Zika, how does it pay for what it damaged? Shaman Beis Ba'isa Sada, we evaluate a Beis in that field. Kamma Yafa, how much it was worth, the Kamma Yafa, and how much it's worth now that amount of what was growing was damaged. Okay, what difference that makes in the value of the field because of what was damaged? Reb Shimon says, now Reb Shimon essentially agrees with the Tana Kamma that there is such a thing as paying for what it damaged based on what we just said, that you evaluate the area of a base in that field, how much it went down in value now that this amount of what was growing there was damaged. But he agrees that essentially, but he qualifies. Reb Shimon says, Achla Peres Gemurim. If what the animal ate were ripe produce means it's ready to be harvested and sold. It doesn't need to grow from the ground anymore. It's ready to be harvested and sold. If that is what it ate, Mishalemes Peres Gemurim. So now you have to pay for completely ripe fruit. At this point of time, we don't look at it as part of the ground. We look at it now as separate fruit. And the same way, if you would have to attach it from the ground and the animal would have come and eaten for it, you'd pay for the value of that produce itself, how much market value it has. Even though now it's still connected to the ground, you're going to pay for the value of the fruit in whole. Im sa'ah, if it ate the amount of a sa'ah, you're going to pay a sa'ah's worth. Im sasayim. If it ate 2 sa'ah, you're going to pay 2 sa'ah's worth. The point being that if it's at a point where the fruit is already gemurim, it's already ripe and ready to be harvested and sold, then paying for damage means paying for damaging and eating the fruit and paying for the fruit itself. It's only if, let's say, the fruit was not yet ripe, which means it still needs to be attached to the ground, that's when it's assessed according to the value of the land. And the halacha says the Bartanura is like Reb Shimon, that it depends. If it is the what it ate was fully ripe, the halacha is you have to pay for the fully ripe fruits. If it still needs to be attached to the ground, then you assess it according to the change of the value of the land because this produce was eaten from it. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.